But before we get into some other introductions and an introduction of the IURC, we also want to invite one of the public commissioners to allow them to introduce themselves.
Good evening, I'm Drew Valletta from the IURC.
I'm Bob Guy with IURC, and it's my first time to report. I'm from Evansville, and made the trek up to the city.
Thank you very much, guys. Emily greeted you in the back. She's our very legal external affairs person. And we have Luke Wilson over here that helps us with policy as kind of our liaison between the commission and the legislature. And I'd also like to welcome some elected officials tonight. We have Joe Haney, County Commissioner with us. Don Kruplinsky from the City Council here in LaPorte. And Steve Holfeld, who's also County Commissioner here in LaPorte. And then we got a couple mayors in the house. Angie Nelson Butch, did I say that right? From Michigan City, and Mayor Tom Berman from here in LaPorte. And then also with us this evening is State Representative Jim Preston. So thank you all for coming out. And at this time, we're going to start off with a little introduction of the IURC and have some opening remarks. And then we will turn it over to hear from you, because that's why we are here tonight. So good evening. My name is Andy Zay. I am the chairman of the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission. I want to welcome you to our first listening session on energy affordability. I want to start by thanking everyone in the room for coming out tonight, for your comments that you've shared with us or will share, and for making your voices heard. I know there are things you're giving up to be here because this is important to you. And I want you to know that we appreciate it, we hear you, and it's important to us too. I also would like to take a moment to thank all of the individuals and elected officials and the community members, and a big thanks to the LaPorte Civic Auditorium and staff for making the meeting possible tonight. Before we head into the listening session, I wanted to take a brief moment to set the stage and explain the Commission's role in the process, what we are hoping to accomplish with these listening sessions. As a background, Indiana is a traditionally regulated state with vertically integrated utilities. That means under state law, utilities have exclusive retail service territory and are considered natural monopolies, but these are regulated monopolies. Utilities have an obligation to serve all customers and must provide the service safely and reliably. In exchange, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, which is an independent body, authorizes the rates and fees a utility like NIPSCO can charge its customers. So why does this system exist, and why does Indiana allow monopolies? Because generating and delivering power requires a lot of investment in power plants, in transmission lines, in substations, and in distribution lines that all need constant maintenance. It would be impractical for multiple companies to build out infrastructure due to the duplication. Slide 3. You can find pictures of this online. I've included a few examples here of what the distribution system looked like in the early 1900s. There were poles and wires everywhere. It was extremely wasteful, economically inefficient, and created a lot of congestion. That's just a quick backdrop of why Indiana is structured this way. Our role within that system is to evaluate the evidence in each case to ensure the utilities are making prudent decisions as they meet their obligations to serve. Slide 4. The agency is comprised of 5 voting commissioners. 3 of us are here tonight. We have 2 colleagues that did not make the road trip today. We are appointed by the governor and a dedicated team of professionals with about 75 staff members who spend their time reviewing evidence and regulatory proceedings. The commission receives most of its authority from Title 8 of Indiana Code and regulates certain utilities in the electric, natural gas, water, wastewater, communication sector, and our pipeline safety division. Since we're talking about energy, the commission has full regulatory authority, including over rates, charges over electric utilities, 5 investor-owned utilities and 3 municipal, and 17 natural gas utilities in the state. The key takeaway here is that not all electric utilities fall under the commission's authority for rates and charges. State law allows municipal utilities and REMCs to opt out of the commission's rate setting jurisdiction. Also, we don't regulate holding companies. We only regulate the actual utility providing the service. Slide 5. More information about the Commission's authority can be found in our annual report and utility guide. So what makes up your rates and what is our role as a commission? As I mentioned, utilities have a lot of infrastructure they need to maintain, and it takes a lot of personnel and equipment to operate and keep the system running. As regulated entities, in order to recover the costs they invest in their systems, utilities must get approval from the Commission, so they will submit a request called a petition. This could be anything from a request to upgrade aging infrastructure or build or purchase a power plant to a gas cost adjustment or a territorial dispute. It can also be in response to a federal mandate or weatherization. Some of these are pass-through costs and vary by season, while others are fixed. Depending on the request, there are different types of petitions. The Commission will then open a formal documented proceeding, set a procedural schedule, and receive evidence submitted by the utility in support of its request. Interveners on the case, as well as the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, known as the OUCC, who represents the ratepayers and will analyze the utility's evidence and submit their own testimony and evidence. And there's an opportunity for rebuttal. Commission staff carefully study and analyze all of the filed testimony and evidence and provide reports to the commissioners. There's an evidentiary hearing held where witnesses can be cross-examined, including questions from the commissioners and the assigned administrative law judge. For rate cases in particular, if the utility seeks an increase in revenues that exceed $2.5 million, the Commission is required to hold a public field hearing in the utility service territory. After that evidentiary hearing wraps up and the record of the case is closed, the Commission is required to review all the evidence. Part of the Commission's evaluations include any customer comments that were shared to the OUCC. Slide 6, please. The OUCC is a separate state agency that is responsible for representing ratepayers in cases before the Commission. If the Commission is the judge, the consumer counselor is like the public's attorney and is assigned as an intervener to every case. So for anyone who came here wanting to know, what can I do to get involved? What part can I play in the process? You can comment on a case. If you would like to do so, I encourage you to contact the consumer counselor's office. On this slide, I've also included some contact information for our Consumer Affairs Division for customers who have concerns about the accuracy of their bill and have been unable to resolve the issue with your utility first. Once the Commission has reviewed and analyzed all of the evidence and the statutory requirements, it will make a determination. These decisions are made at the IURC's weekly public meeting known as a conference, which typically occurs on Wednesdays and is streamed live on the Commission's YouTube channel. At any given time, large investor-owned utilities have multiple petitions before the Commission. Slide 7, please. For those interested, the Commission manages a searchable case database where you can find filings in any docketed proceeding before the Commission, going all the way back to 2001. You can search by the case type, a few which I highlighted earlier, or by the utility's name. That's a very abbreviated version. I didn't want to spend too much time on this tonight because we are here to discuss energy affordability, and I want to hear from each of you. It's long been my view that addressing issues like affordability is a shared responsibility. The Indiana General Assembly is the policy setter, utilities are the service providers, and the Commission is the economic regulator. We all have a part to play. I commend the work of the Indiana General Assembly did this past session to move the needle on this issue. They passed a law called House Enrolled Act 1002 that will give the Commission some new tools and levers it can use to evaluate utility performance. For our part, like I mentioned, the Commission is the judge that presides over cases and reviews and weighs evidence according to law. Slide 8. One law in particular I would like to touch on requires the Commission to consider the 5 pillars of reliability, resiliency, stability, environmental sustainability, and affordability when reviewing any electric rate-making cases. In my view, these pillars recognize the difficult balancing act that regulators face every day. It is important to us and critical for every customer here to ensure that utilities are able to make the investments they need to keep the lights on, to run and maintain their systems to provide heat, winter, etc. At the same time, careful attention must be paid to the impact these increases can have when combined with inflation, fuel costs, and other forces outside of the utilities' control. It's difficult to put a price tag on reliability. However, if that balance is strained, then this is something we have to pay attention to, which gets to the heart of why we are here this evening. In my short time as chairman, the commission has received an unprecedented number of complaints from customers who are struggling to pay their energy bills and who have expressed frustration and confusion about what those bills entail. At the time when costs are increasing across the board, rising utility bills are placing added pressure on budgets that for many are already strained. As you know, the commission hosted an investigative inquiry on energy affordability this week and heard from NIPSCO and the other investor-owned utilities on the topic. Now we want to hear from you. I've always felt that affordability means something different to everyone, and the rates we set are not just abstract numbers. They have real impacts on everyday households and businesses. Once these sessions are done at the end of April, the commission will then review the information, including the comments shared tonight, and determine any appropriate next steps to take, which can include a formal or informal actions. With that, I want to thank you for being here and look forward to hearing from you. Also, we have forms in the back for those who don't wish to speak tonight, but would like to provide comments, as well as email addresses that you can send your comments to. I'll leave this slide up here that has the address in case you would like to send those comments anytime, including right now. So that's what I have in prepared remarks, but we are here tonight to hear from you. And just to bring some order this evening, we have the front row set. So if someone wants to lead off, they can step up to the podium and share with us what you have to say about energy affordability, its impact on yourself, its impact on your business, its impact on your community. And then if somebody else wants to come up, we can just line up in these front seats and go one at a time. So with that, the floor is yours. Please somebody step up and get started. Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Sonia Bielik. I'm in LaPorte County. I live on Washington. In August of 2025, I called everybody, NIPSCO, Regulatory Board, OUCC. I have my emails here. My original question was, how was the 16% and change rate increase applied to our bills? My bill doubled from $250 on average to $450 in 1 month. I called NIPSCO. I said, explain to me how this happened. Somewhere around line 9 or line 10 of the rates that they charge, and I'm talking 0.0000 number. Somewhere around line 9, line 10, line 11, I said, that's enough. I don't even know what you're talking about anymore. Sometimes they come in as a rebate through this part of the year. Sometimes it's charged as a tax as this part of the year. I had no idea what the operator was talking about. I just wanted to know, was I charged the full 16%? She couldn't tell me. This is on top of the 3% annual increase that I had also received. So really, I was sitting closer to 20%. Got another operator at NIPSCO. He said, wow, how could that happen? You used 36 units less this year compared to last year, and your bill still doubled. Now I had a leak at my meter. Now I've received a letter from NIPSCO saying that I might have a bad meter again. It might be part of the new intelligence system. I might get a refund, I might not. But it's not the intelligence part of the system. We don't know yet. I've got a letter saying they'll be out on the 31st. I turned everything off in my home. No more Alexa, no more smart lights. I have one light bulb in my living room. I don't have TVs on in any other room. I kept my heat at 60. I have a 2-year-old and an 11-year-old and house pets. And our bill was still almost $400 a month. lower class. We make $50,000 a year. Can you imagine what that's like? $200 out of nowhere? And NIPSCO operators can't even tell me if this was the first phase, if I'm gonna get more. It's supposed to be phased in through first quarter 2026. Should I expect to double every quarter until 2026? I finally spoke to Ashley at the OUCC. She said, no, it's all been applied. You're fully paid in. You cannot just expect somebody to have a 20% increase overnight. If you're going to tax us like this, if you're going to raise it for the data farms that coming in, for the electric vehicle mandates, if you're gonna say it's for power lines, if it's for gas line, I get that you have to do upgrades to the system. I do get that. Why do we get rid of lead pipes? Because it's not good. They're old. We have to replace some stuff. I understand that. I work on a budget. They have to work on a budget. Because the next step is I'm going to candles. I can't take any more light bulbs out of my house. I can't turn off any more electricity than I already am. We're in coats in the house. Coats on a 2-year-old baby in the middle of winter because mom and dad can't afford the 20% increase that we just got hit with. I wrote my legislator, I wrote my representative, I wrote my county person, and I said, I can't go back to work because childcare is $300 at the cheapest place a week. My NIPSCO bill has gone through the roof. My husband and I make too much money to qualify for any kind of additional benefits. State aid said I could get on the daycare tax credit, voucher system. Every daycare I talk to, there's 30,000 people on the wait list and they're not sending out payments anymore. I talked to 4 daycares in Michigan City, Chesterton, Valpo, and LaPorte. You can get on the list, but they're not paying. What do you expect we should do? What is the answer here? Because I sure haven't gotten one. Other than I'm being charged the right rate. But I don't even know if NIPSCO's charging me the right amount of gas. NIPSCO doesn't know. I don't know. All I can tell you is you're bleeding us dry. And my next step is I'm turning everything off and going to candles, or I'm not going to put food on my table. Thank you.
Sonia, thank you very much. And I do need to comment, we do already have an active case on the meter situation with NIPSCO, so we can't comment on that because we'll be ruling on that in the coming months.
Either can NIPSCO. They're not sure either. I could be affected. I might not be affected, but I'm getting a meter. And I'm sure all the defective meters are part of the upgrades.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Good job.
So I just talk loud.
Just, can you use that? Just push up. Just push the button.
Good evening.
Thank
I
you.
attended your session earlier this week. Very eye-opening. I plan on being there in April. My father spent 40 years there. He was there during the strike in 1980. So I'm aware of what these guys, ladies and gentlemen, about to go through. The question I have a concern about is we're being inundated up here in northern Indiana with data centers. Genco is supposedly going to absorb 100% of that cost. Is there anything you guys are going to do to follow up on that and make sure they are? Because I'm under the impression by state statute, they're only required to do 80%. Maybe I'm just reading that bill wrong. But are you guys going to follow up on that and make sure that Genco absorbs 100% of this cost from the data centers to make sure the consumer does not? Thank you.
Yes. Well,
Sir, so you understand our role with the regulating the utilities deployment of generation for data centers. The 80% you're referring to would apply to the situation in northeastern Indiana where INM is building power because they're building that generation and putting it in their rate base. With GenCo, NIPSCO is not putting it in the rate base with the generation they use to serve all of you. So if you have any other questions about it, you can grab me afterwards and I can explain it to you further. But to answer your question, as designed, as approved by us, and we do still regulate that and follow that up, the cost to serve that GenCo will serve data centers is isolated from the cost that serve you, if that answers your question.
We'll have oversight of that through the process.
And we continue to oversee that. Thank you.
So, to ask a few more questions on that. What is GenCo gonna do with the leftover energy that they don't use for the data center? What are they gonna do with that?
So let me put this out here, right? So we don't, part of the GenCo stuff is still pending, so we can't talk about the bill credit part. But to answer your question, as what we approved, until they're fully serving the data centers, they would be able to serve the excess electricity. They would be able to sell it into the MISO market,
Which would be,
which would be what?
it would be NIPSCO. They would sell it to their subsidiaries, which, I mean, it's a double monopoly. They would sell it to themselves and then we would be charged for it. I mean, you don't have to comment. I mean, we know what we know.
But that's not true. They would not be selling it to NIPSCO. NIPSCO has generation in their rate base that they use to serve all of you. GenCo is developing separate generation that they will serve these data centers.
And what are they gonna do with the leftover energy that they don't use for the data center? It's gonna just donate it?
No, it goes into the MISO market, but the point I was making before with the prior gentleman, and I want to be very clear about this. There's two different ways you can do this in our state. There's the GenCo way, and then there's the way some of the other utilities are doing it. The difference is they put all of it into the rate base that you guys are all paying. There's a lot more risk on all of you. The GenCo way keeps the risk away from you. That is the one positive thing I could say about that. Okay, I just want to be really clear about that because it is important to understand there is a difference there. To your point about the electricity, they're selling it into the MISO energy market.
Okie dokie. So anyway, my name is Michelle Chapman. I live in Monticello, Indiana. I hope you'll bear with me tonight. It's actually really difficult for me to be here. I'm not feeling well. You will understand in a moment why I don't feel well. You've introduced yourselves, and I really am grateful. You don't even know how grateful I am for you to be here. We fought very hard to get here. I'm a disabled veteran, okay? I'm a disabled Army vet, and I represent not only the community at large, I mean, part of that, but those who are disabled, those who can't physically be here, okay? Those who live on fixed incomes, okay? And there are a lot of people, okay? There are a lot of people out there that I can't even describe the situation that they're being put in. And nobody's speaking for them, and they can't even speak for themselves. So here's my story, okay? I've had 3 brain surgeries. Well, technically 2 spinal cord surgeries because I had a prior one before the main one, okay? I have a ventroperitoneal shunt in my brain, a spinal cord stimulator in my spine, a port in my chest, and what I like to call some metal in my foot for sprinkles. I had complete reconstructive surgery in my foot. I learned to walk again. And that's okay. I'm still here. Okay. I'm looking at maybe having to have another brain surgery. I'm trying to fight that. And I'm really trying to fight more spinal cord surgery because that will be a major one, right? But I'm still here. And I'm here tonight on a storm night, which is excruciating for me. Excruciating, but I am here. Why am I here? Because I need you guys to remember my face. I could show you my scars, show you my port. I can show you the device, okay? This device right here that allows me to walk well. But you know what this thing does? It's useless if it's not charged. My spine has to be charged. It's absolutely useless if I can't do it. Now, not only does NIPSCO have their circumstances with, oh, it's just usage, it's just the approved rate increases, it's the market, it's the trackers that we like to hide in your delivery fees so you don't know what we're doing, sneaky, sneaky. It's all of these things, but $1,400 in 2 months for a fixed income vet seems a little excessive. Yeah? Now, trust me, I can come and I can go talk to senators on both sides of the aisle, because frankly, I don't even identify with the party anymore. It's pretty irrelevant to me. It's both sides. You can go back 20, 25 years, old enough, I know. Doesn't matter to me. Everybody has, everybody can chew up a bit. And I really appreciate something you said on Tuesday, when you were talking to the NIPSCO executive that enjoys like a $12 million a year salary, sitting in his nice, cozy, warm house when it's negative 25 degrees. And you said, hey, did we possibly do a little too much? Did we? I'm here to say, Ron, you did. You did. Because while they were all nice, warm, and cozy, there were people out there with no power. Negative 25 degrees for weeks, off and on, no power. And then we call customer service, you know that 3-minute hold time? 3-minute hold time? When they lie to your face, don't worry, I stood right over here and an executive lied to my face, and then I went back over there from an iSource, and that dude lied to my face too. Said that there was gonna be a 1% increase in electric for the summer. Yeah, don't worry, they lied to us too. The thing is, the consequences on us is we don't get to charge our spine. People don't get to breathe on a CPAP, right? But who gets to hold them accountable? It's you. We look to you. We look to our elected officials. Sat on a panel with them 2 weeks ago. I was honored to do so, and they listened. But we look to them. Stop. Please stop rewarding bad behavior. What do we teach our children, huh? This is what I told these elected officials the other day. I worked in pediatrics, I've had some brain surgery, bear with me here, I use analogies. What do we teach our kids? Please, don't take that from your sister. Don't do that to your brother. We try to teach them good behavior. What are we showing them now? And you know, you can steal that from your sister if you got enough money, but you don't have to give her the money, you gotta give the shareholders the money. She don't even get no money. Loses her toy, shareholders, they get the money. Whoever has the most money, they get the benefit. That's what you teach your children. So when are we going to stop doing gentle parenting with monopolized utilities here? I think we've learned over the last 20, 25 years that doesn't work. Right? I think we all grew up knowing. Do they need to have the ability to do things? Yes. But that doesn't mean you take them into the Walmart and get them everything they want from an aisle. Take a kid down the aisle, they want everything. Look, it's shiny. I want all the poison our water. Do it all, we don't care. But what do you tell your kids? No. You can have one treat. Oh, they can't have a whole bag. No, what did I say? Moderation. It's your job to teach these people that will always push your boundaries, just like you teach your children. They will always push your boundaries, and they've been doing it. They will go to you and lie to your face. They'll lie to your face. What are the consequences for them lying to your face? They're not under oath, gentlemen. They don't come to you and swear under oath that they're going to tell you the truth. So what is the consequences? They come and lie to us, and they're just like, oh, little minions. We'll just bankrupt you out of your homes and send BlackRock over to purchase them. Because you think BlackRock's going to invest in a company they don't want profit from? They want profit. You, gentlemen, are our last line of defense. And I want you to remember my face because I swore an oath a few years ago against foreign and domestic enemies. And you're looking at one, and you have to look at them. So if they're going to come and they're going to tell you a fact, research the fact. Because if we have to spend our time out here trying to figure out how to pay these bills that we're responsible for, which by the way, we never asked for. We're out here fighting data centers that are getting approved because we know what's going to happen to us. Who is a regulatory body? So if we're out here saying we don't want it, we don't want smart meters, you are also the people that say we get to say no, but you know what? No means yes in this state. Do you realize that? I called and spoke to someone in NIPSCO and say, listen, do you realize that these smart meters can have an effect on my health? They said, that's really sad. We'll turn it off for you for $7 a month and you can call in your number. Really? You're so sweet. That's kind. I said, I highly recommend you don't come onto my property. The last rights I have is say no, but you know, no does not mean no here. So when are you going to stand up for us? When are you going to tell them they have the right to say no? We do not care about certain things that they want to enforce upon us. We have property rights, but not with NIPSCO. Please, answers. I don't know how many, I don't mean to be offended, but I don't know how many NDAs do you have to hide behind to tell us, do we have the right to say no? They say we don't have the right to say no. Do we have the right to say no? Because people go to work and they come home and these stupid smart meters are on their home and they said no. Do you know people are armed in this community? And then these poor people that are contracted to go put these meters on people's homes are like, well, we weren't even notified that you said no. There is a disconnect, a big one. And you are smart, gentlemen. You have to see. And we're here to try to help you understand that they're squeezing apple juice out of an orange, and this orange with no apple juice.
Thank you. Thank you for your service, first of all, and thank you very much for your comments.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Terry Logan, and I am the former of NIPSCO Monopoly Magnets. I started this page back at the end of January because my husband and I were retired. And I had started noticing our bills have more than doubled in the past 2 years. Just alone, my budget amount has increased by 74% since January of 2024. We are now having to take money out of our life savings just to keep our lights on and keep our heat on. And like Michelle said, we keep one light on in the living room. We keep our temp at 68 degrees. We have no money to do anything extra because we're so afraid of how much higher our NIPSCO bill is going to go. Just in this month alone, they got another electric increase. It makes me wonder by next January, what are we going to be facing with our bills? And I'm up here speaking for the over 33,000 followers that are on my page. And we're all asking you, as the ones that are supposed to be keeping our best interest at, in your hearts, we need to have your help with NIPSCO. I listen to Vince Parisi, and every time I listen to that man talk, all I hear is lies from him. I watched your meeting on Tuesday, and it got to me so bad, some of the lies he was telling to you people right to your face. Oh, well, we need this to fix the power poles when cars hit power poles. That's done when people do that, their insurance pays for that. And just all these little excuses. And I'm just asking you, please start listening to us. Recognize us, read what we're doing, listen to what's going on in our hearts, and please help us with everything. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your advocacy, and thank you for reaching out before tonight. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah.
Hello? Hi,
Louis DeHane. And, I just want to say that, I know that you guys can only do what your legislators allow you to do. That's where the law comes from. But, I have a few suggestions, maybe, we can see what we can do here. My first one was, we can eliminate the taxes for residents, the ratepayers, and tax to corporations, because they are indirectly subsidized. So that might be a suggestion there. I don't know, maybe y'all can look into that. NIPSCO, Juanita Haney. Also, I would like to know that I was here too, when NIPSCO was here, and I asked them questions, and they did lie to us. They actually, told me that the bills were anomalies. All these bills can't be anomalies. I mean, you're gonna hear all the people come up and tell you over and over and over, all these bills can't be anomalies. It's terrible. So anyway, onward. These trackers, and I mentioned it earlier, there's about 30 trackers on there, and they all have these under trackers that it's attached to them. It's crazy, and they're not reviewed, stuck on there. We talked about it earlier, and they do the rate reviews. Maybe we don't need these trackers at all because they're not reviewed and they're just stuck on there. So that's something to look into. If we need to, maybe we can legislate some rules in there for you guys to help you regulate these bills. If there's something you need, we need to do that. We need to give you guys what you need to help us with these bills. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Merry Christmas and good evening. I hope everybody's doing well.
How are you?
How you doing, Andy, today? I was there on Tuesday for the grilling of 5 big energy companies here. And so, I think you guys did a great job of asking and pressing the issue of affordability. You guys know, I, of course, created the 2026 Energy Affordability Impact Brief that most of you have seen. So a lot of these stories that people are coming up to say, I've pretty much already heard in one way, shape, form, or fashion, either by them or some of the other 1 million plus customers that NIPSCO has across Northern Indiana. But I have a few questions. I'm glad that you guys are answering questions. So I want to be able to understand the approval process just a little more clearly. So what percentage of rate cases over the past 10 years have been approved, partially approved, or denied?
I will take your contact information, get back with you on that. I can't answer that.
Okay, well, I'm so happy you said that, because I want to make sure that all my questions are answered. And if you can't answer any today, please do. But I'll go forward. What specific criteria is used to balance affordability against infrastructure reliability when making those decisions? When utilities say increases are quote unquote commission approved, because we heard that from AES, NIPSCO, IURC, all of them, they kept saying commission approved. How do you ensure those approvals reflect actual customer impact, not just projected cost model? Secondly, I also want to address what appears to be a gap in the process. Okay, so why is there no required independent customer impact assessment conducted before every rate case is approved? Because we're here after the fact with everybody's stories after we've already been impacted. And has the commission considered at any time mandating a third-party sentiment and affordability analysis as a part of the process? If not, why? And at what stage is customer data formally weighted in the decision-making beyond public comments? Because I've stood, and I believe Don Prespolinski and a few other people here, maybe about 10 years ago, for a rate hike and happen anyway. This isn't my first time at a listening session. This isn't my first time protesting these issues, but these rate hikes happen anyway. And no one ever talks to anybody until after that. But guess what? When the bill comes, all you do is look at the little black number, or excuse me, the big black number, and figure out how you're gonna pay it. But lastly, I want to talk about the real world impact and some forward solutions. So how does the commission account for fixed income households when utility costs exceed 20 to 30% of monthly income, and when things like delivery charges make up about 60% of the bill? The young man back here just showed me his bill he brought for me today, which was like a $25 bill and a $50 delivery charge. How could that possibly be? What are we doing? Is there a defined threshold for what is considered unaffordable, and how is that applied in these decisions? And will the commission support the development of a standardized third-party energy affordability impact report to include with all future rate cases? And can we have some kind of model, maybe even starting here with NIPSCO if possible? But I'm looking forward to the answer to any of these questions you guys have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Make sure I get your contact and we'll get back with you on some of these questions. Be happy to do so. And thank you for your advocacy. Appreciate you coming down to Indy on Tuesday. Next up.
Okay, first of all, I want to thank you for coming all the way up here, I guess, I should say. And for everybody here that thought the bad weather and all the, what they were telling us could be happening on our way home. I want to give you a little background about myself. I left Michigan City. Oh, I'm sorry, Donna Campbell. I left Michigan City when I was 17 years old to pursue a career in entertainment. I went to Hollywood, New York. Then my mother died, and I ended up at Catholic University in Washington, D.C., where Father Harvey in the film and theater department sent me to Eastern Europe, which was then occupied by Russia, in Poland. So if we have anybody that's a Polish descent here, I worked with Solidarity. Now you would call me an influencer, when I was in my early 20s. And we freed them. And I'm bringing this up because I saw what happened when suddenly the utilities and everything else was taken away from the control of the people in Poland that were occupied by a dominating entity. And that's kind of how I describe NIPSCO. Now, I want to tell you, I'm 73 years old, and I don't mind saying that. I'm glad to be here, still fighting the good fight. I do radio and television. I have contacts with people I've worked with all over the country. They're all looking at us right here in Indiana. And they're saying, oh, if it can happen to all of you, it's going to happen to us, Donna. Well, a couple of things I want to ask. First of all, I'm not wealthy. I work still. Sometimes I get jobs, sometimes I don't. I freelance. But I get millions, well, now I'm exaggerating. I get a lot of phone calls from women mostly, who are my age or younger, that have young children in Michigan City and LaPorte County that are begging me for money. And this is not an exaggeration. I've helped 5 people in the past 2 weeks so they wouldn't get thrown out of their homes because they can't afford the NIPSCO bills. They're being threatened to be turned off or have been turned off. Some men also that have gotten kicked out with their children during a divorce or whatever's happening out of a hotel or out of their apartment because they can't afford it. And this one woman who said she wears her coat, I live in a house that I moved into when I was 9 years old, and I came back 40 years ago almost here. I took over the home. It's just me and 2 cats. And my bill last month and the month before was almost $800 a month. I've never had a bill in the worst winters ever more than like $400. I don't know how I'm going to pay it. I have no idea. I'm trying to figure that out right now. Let's see, can I sell my table or one of my cats? I don't know. No. But I want to tell you that because I've seen women homeless in hotels in Michigan City, out on the street, I've taken some people into my home to get them out of the cold with their kids. I'm doing everything I can do as a human being because I feel so horrible, and there, for the grace of God, could I go or the rest of us. But I want to say to you, if you think, and please tell NIPSCO this, that they're going to make a whole lot of money on our bills, and they're going to be, in the red for their stockholders, please tell them they're creating, and please use this word, a tsunami. A tsunami of people in LaPorte County around Indiana that cannot afford their bills, that are going to go belly up, that are going to have to move out of their homes, lose their apartments, get kicked out of the hotel because they can't afford anything. It's a tsunami that's coming at us. I guarantee it. And I put something out on Facebook, and I have a radio show and a TV show, and I had 4,000 comments from people in the past 3 months. What are we going to do? I don't know what to do. So please, know it's a tsunami coming. It's not going to be great for the shareholders. Please tell them that. And one other thing I wanted to know, besides the data centers that I think we're not getting the whole truth about, in my opinion. I'm doing a deep dive about that one for our people behind me and anybody else listening. Bernie Sanders said today that he was going to put in a bill, if they don't go on 2-week leave for Easter, to stop the data centers from popping up like flowers all over the United States. But that's another story. We were told that they were going to tear down the NIPSCO power plant in Michigan City. Remember this? Yeah. And then it was 2038. Well, are they going to use our money that they're charging us overwhelmingly for to update it? Do they have new plans for that in other places that they have around Indiana? These are questions we'd like to know because we get so much misinformation. And so I won't take up any more time, but I do want to say, I work in television, so you can tell me to shut up at any time. I won't be offended. But I want to say thank you to our legislators and our politicians that take the heat. Some of them that are taking money from NIPSCO for their political campaigns. You can't blame them. But they're here. And they're facing a lot of controversy. And all those steel workers back there, I want to thank them for coming. And all the people that came today to say to you, please, a tsunami is coming. It's not funny. It's real. And I can see it every day. I don't want to have to take any more women in my car and their children so they don't freeze to death next winter, or even this summer when they're sweating to death and they don't have any air conditioning or anything else. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to say that to you. I had a couple of questions. I hope you will let me know. But I appreciate you for taking the heat from all of us, and God bless you.
Thank you for sharing.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Don Przybolinsky, and I'm a city councilman from Michigan City. And I'm here this evening to represent the city council and also represent the city of 32,000 people. And I just want to set the record straight. I have never taken a dime of any political contribution from NIPSCO. And I have been in office for 10 years now, and I don't need their money to get reelected or to get elected. So what I'd like to do, and each of you have a copy of the resolution that the city council put together about a month and a half ago. And what I'd like to do is read it in its entirety. And a resolution strongly opposing recent utility rate increases and calling on Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission to reverse its approval of the same. And whereas on June 26, 2025, the IURC approved a stipulation and settlement agreement in its case number 46-120, whereby the Northern Indiana Public Service Company was authorized to generally increase its rates, which will result in an estimated increase of 16.75 to the average residential customer monthly electric service bill. And Whereas pursuant to the aforementioned stipulation and settlement agreement, the rate increase is expected to be implemented in 2 phases, with the second phase expected to be implemented in March of 2026. Whereas recent media reports and actions of local government entities have placed a heightened scrutiny on NIPSCO's routine practice of presenting residents with an aggregated delivery charge associated with the provision of electrical and natural gas service, which often constitutes a significant portion of a resident's monthly utility bill, but by its nature presents challenges to the residents with respect to their ability to identify and or challenge the manner in which the delivery charge is calculated and components of which it is comprised. And whereas the electric rates of NIPSCO are among the highest of the utilities mentioned on the website of the IURC. So as far as I'm concerned, they're the highest in the state of Indiana. Whereas residents of Michigan City are struggling to pay heightened utility bills. And we just heard it from Donna Cavanaugh, who's up here explaining her case. And residents of Michigan City are struggling to pay the heightened utility bills along with other basic and necessary expenses, which continue to increase and at a minimum should not be burdened with an additional rate increase at this time. Just as our gas has gone up $1.50 in the past 4 weeks. It's just a prime example of where we're headed. And whereas the residents of Michigan City are struggling to pay their heightened utility bills, and whereas the drastic and recent increase in monthly utility bills assessed to Michigan City residents create a destabilizing impact on our local economy by reducing the amount of disposable income available for support and investment in local businesses, establishments, and services. And whereas the recent and drastic increase in monthly utility bills assessed to Michigan City residents further create a destabilizing impact on the local housing supply by forcing residents out of their current residences over affordability concerns and an ability to remain compliant with either their lease or mortgage payments. And whereas the recent and drastic increase in our monthly utility bills assessed to Michigan City residents has further resulted in numerous residents being forced to drastically reduce their utility consumption, which we've heard here tonight, which creates general health, welfare, and safety concerns by limiting, limiting the ability of some residents to heat their residences or find alternative or dangerous ways of heating their residences during the winter, which has already brought above average snowfall and below average temperatures, which we're all aware of. Some important facts when it comes to rate increases for folks in Michigan City. Whereas over 60% of the Michigan City population lives below the poverty level, and whereas the city's annual utility bill, we're talking for 2026, due to these increases, the mayor and I, we sat down with the city controller and departments, calculated this before this resolution was put together, that our NIPSCO bill for the city of Michigan City will be an increase of somewhere between $175,000 to $200,000 for the year 2026. Where does the city get that money to make up the difference when we're trying to give raises to the employees, buy equipment, and substantiate the services that the people of Michigan City expect from us. So whereas the Common Council wishes to create a public record with respect to the sentiments opposing the recent aforementioned rate increases, and we are calling on the IURC to reverse its approval of the same and engage in heightened scrutiny with respect to the ambiguous, vague, and unsupported delivery charges routinely imposed by NIPSCO. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of Michigan City, the City of Michigan City, Indiana, strongly opposes the currently effective and ongoing increases to NIPSCO's gas and electric rates due to the aforementioned adverse impacts and said rate increases are having and will continue to have on our families struggling to pay their existing utility bills, and in the absence of intervention by the IURC and or the state administration. So the City of Michigan City, Indiana further joins with several of its neighboring communities in calling for the IURC to initiate an investigation, which the commission has, and we greatly appreciate that, on the delivery charges imposed by NIPSCO, and further demands that NIPSCO cease its practice of assessing said delivery charges until such time as it can provide the requested itemization and substantiation of the validity of the same. And it's signed by the total city council and by the mayor of Michigan City, Indiana. Thank you very much for your time and appreciate your help.
Thank you for sharing the copies with us, which we will take back and add to our collection of information as we work through this investigative inquiry. And I appreciate you reading it to us and advocating for the community of Michigan City. Thank you very much, Bob.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Zay.
Good evening, Chairman Zay and other commissioners. My name is Lisa Butcher. I listened to the IURC hearing 2 days ago with the 5 big investor-funded utility companies. And I wanted to share that I was extremely disappointed and truly hope it wasn't a glimpse of what we can expect from the IURC going forward with regards to the topic at hand. There was one word that stood out to me from that day. That word was unprecedented. Unprecedented. We talked about an unprecedented number of complaints to the CAD, an unprecedented number of complaints to the IURC, unprecedented number of complaints to the utility companies, unprecedented number of Hoosiers that are financially strained due to their utility bills. Another word that stood out to me was assistance. Increases in the amount of money provided by utility companies to provide assistance to pay those bills. All the different funds that were available for financial assistance. All the town hall meetings to offer assistance to help people understand their bills. All the extra assistance provided to call centers to help handle the increased volume of calls coming in. What I did not hear was, why do we have all of these unprecedented number of complaints and issues? Why do we need all of this extra assistance, seemingly overnight? No drilling down did I hear to what are the real root causes and what's causing them. It felt as though utility companies were trying to put lipstick on a pig. What actions are going to be taken by the IURC, our legislators and utility companies, to reverse the egregious business behavior and abuse of the consumers of Indiana? I heard the CEO of NIPSCO, who has an executive level position and salary, use the analogy of delivering pizzas when he was trying to articulate their delivery charges. Really? I don't know about you, but when I might speak for many when I say that if suddenly Tony's neighborhood pizza parlor started charging double for his pizzas and $50 to deliver that pizza, people would probably start looking elsewhere to buy their pizzas. Herein lies the problem. Help me understand how it's good practice to allow an energy company to hold a monopoly. How do we know that the utility companies are acting in the best interest of the consumers and being trustworthy fiscal stewards of the rates they're collecting? Help me understand why it is acceptable for the utility to continue to record record profits with astronomical and what some would call unprecedented salaries for senior leaders while financially bankrupting entire areas of our state. Help me understand why it's okay that there's actually lobbying budgets, because they were asked about that day, and I think most of them quoted about $100,000. And why politicians engage in such practices with utility companies. When you or a family member goes to a hospital emergency room with chest pain or shortness of breath, you hope that someone working there on your behalf takes you seriously enough to do more than just toss you a Band-Aid or a Tylenol. When you dial 911 because someone's breaking into your home or because your home is on fire, you hope that the police or the fire department show up for you. When there's an emergency, you expect an emergent response. Why are the people of Indiana not getting an emergent response? Why are we getting a Band-Aid and a Tylenol? We need action. We need you to meet the moment, the severity of the situation. All I heard over and over again from the utility companies was, we're having more town halls. We have more agents now to answer the phones. We have talking points to explain the bills. We have financial assistance. We have creative billing plans. We know that we need to have more face-to-face interactions with the consumers. I don't think that's what the people of Indiana are asking for. We're asking for the egregious, malicious increase in our utility bills to be reversed, just like the last gentleman from Michigan City just asked for. If your bank told you tomorrow that your mortgage was doubling going forward, what would you do? What about your car payment, your cell phone bill, your property taxes, gasoline, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Why is it accepted that the utility company has been able to double our bills overnight? And all we're getting right now is more town halls to explain the bills and show us how they can provide us financial assistance to pay these outrageous bills. See, they're still getting their money, they're just getting it in a more creative way. I propose that the executives for the utility companies decrease their salaries to the amount of the household income used to determine if financial assistance is rewarded for utility bills. See how they like that. NIPSCO said their billing system is antiquated and 30 years old. Why? A company with multi-million-dollar profits and salaries, yet no investment in 30 years to their billing system, and they use that as an excuse why they can't explain their interesting delivery charges. Shouldn't they have been investing in those systems long before now? And are they going to need money to improve that now? They have to replace pipes and poles and lines. Is that something new? You see, winters are not suddenly longer or colder in Indiana. Summers are not exponentially longer or warmer. People are not suddenly using an unprecedented amount of energy. Yet the utility companies suddenly need an unprecedented amount of money at a time when Americans have been told numerous times that our cost of energy will be coming down this year. Sounds to me like those elected to serve the people and those entrusted to be stewards of our tax dollars are failing us. Did NIPSCO find a loophole? Did NIPSCO dupe the IURC? How otherwise can you justify or explain how this is happening if you are the ones that actually approved it? To quote Governor Braun just this week, quote, "I will continue fighting to protect ratepayers and bring down the cost of energy for Hoosier families," end quote. Key words in there: protect ratepayers and bring down the cost. What is being done now to bring down the costs before businesses start closing, before people start defaulting on their mortgages, before people start losing their homes, before small nonprofits and places of worship shutter their doors, before entire communities and economies are devastated. How many town halls could you or your family members sit through before being treated for that heart attack? How about your home invasion or the fire? How long would you survive if those responsible for your care, those who were trusted to have your well-being as a priority, just didn't meet the moment? Is the IURC going to suggest a Tylenol, a Band-Aid, or a garden hose? Or are you going to be something more for us? Will you be the crash cart and the fire truck? Short-term Hoosiers need the moment to be met now, with someone willing to understand what it takes to go back to the utility companies and reverse some of the wrongs that have been done, whether maliciously or not. Whether it be through executive orders, emergency bipartisan bill passage, or whatever else is at your disposal. Certainly undoing the ability for all of these monopolies to thrive should also be considered in the long term as a solution. People should have a choice. Utilities should have some sort of competition and be held accountable for their spending with our money. You're allowing the residents of Indiana to be held hostage by the utility companies. And I have to say that I have copies of my bills here. Our monthly bill now is in excess of $1,300 a month. My husband's newly retired and on a fixed income. $1,300 to me sounds like a lot of money for gas and electricity that's combined monthly. I also have a summary of what it has been going back to the last 9 years. And it was actually eye-opening when I ran that report. I also found today that part of the charges on my bill, because our bill is broken up into two, we're actually being charged as a non-residential building and a residential building, even though we're all residential. So I actually found an email for Vince Parisi today, and I actually emailed him and got a response because I wasn't happy with the response I got from the NIPSCO customer service people today. So that's still pending, but another issue, when my bill started to climb in excess of $750 a month last summer, I called NIPSCO's customer service because I wasn't able to pay a bill that exceeds $750 with their system. And I know other people have had that problem as well because their third-party vendor will only allow a $750 payment. So I said, well, now that your bills are getting higher, you might want to talk to that third-party vendor to ask them to allow a payment higher than $750 because my bill's $850, $900, $1,000. How am I supposed to pay that? So I guess you'll have to mail in a check. So, well, that's not how I pay my bills. It's year 2025 at this time, and I'm not sending in a check. So she said, well, I guess I can waive the late fee because it's going to be late now. I mean, that's just kind of ridiculous. So I asked to speak to a supervisor, and they said there's really nothing they can do about it. Yes, it's my problem that my bill is over $750, and their threshold to pay a bill electronically is $750. So I continue to have that same problem every single month because never has my bill been less than $750 since last summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, if you would like to leave that, and we're in the back of the room can help and take that.
Good evening, my name is Joe Haney, LaPorte County Commissioner. First, I want to thank you all for coming down here this evening and welcome to LaPorte County for the first time. LaPorte County is the second largest county in the state. It is one of the most diverse in the state as well, from geographically to economically. We have the Lake Shore to our north, the dunes, Mount Baldy, one of the highlights of our Michigan City, all the way down to the Kankakee River, the rolling hills, rolling prairie, and of course the Masconon farmland here in LaPorte County. Economically, we're also equally as diverse. We have multi-million-dollar homes here. We have some of the most economically depressed areas in the state as well. So what you're going to hear tonight, what you've already heard and what you'll continue to hear are stories from folks of every economic status you can think of, with properties from very small to very large and everywhere. And to echo what the councilman from Michigan City said earlier, in my 2 elections, both in my election and re-election, I've never taken a penny from any of the energy companies nor any of the energy tax. I wanted to speak initially a little bit about some of the different ways that the state legislature could empower you, but tonight I think it's more important for me to speak directly to what happened here a couple weeks ago, right here where we're standing right now, as far as NIPSCO coming to town and hosting their little town hall. Pardon the pun, but there was a significant amount of gaslighting that happened that evening. So one of the things that I heard is that, a lot of the bills that I'm seeing online allegedly are AI generated. I can tell you that the elderly couples that come into my office and show me their bills and how they're struggling, they've never used AI in their life, and they certainly didn't generate those bills and print them out and bring them to me to see. For my own personal bills, the bills that I pay online that I had to pay twice.
Excuse me.
Yes.
NIPSCO said that to you? Said that the bills that were presented to them at that forum were AI generated?
They said some of them were AI generated, absolutely. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
Sure. So my own bill, for example, the one that I had to pay twice online because 750 caps out. I know that my own bill was not AI generated. That's what NIPSCO sent me. And just for your edification, and a reminder, NIPSCO serves the majority of LaPorte County. We also have other electric companies that serve here, from REMC and a couple others here as well throughout the county, depending on where you're at. But at least for my bill, which is electric and gas combined, my highest bill for the same winter month last year was $485. Flash forward to this year, my highest bill was $772. That's an increase of 59.2%. Now, one of the things that was said to me was one of the colder winters, people's usage is up. Well, I can tell you from my own, looking at my own bills, I have that rolling 13-month indicator on your bills for what your bill was for the prior month, 12 months prior. My electric was almost identical, and my gas bill was within 3 therms from 12 months ago to now. And yet my bill is up 59.2%. That's not imaginary. That's not AI generated. That's actually the impact that I'm seeing. And it's frustrating for me to hear some of the answers that were given here by NIPSCO. I mean, the folks, who were here, nice folks, are affable people, we see them in the community and whatnot. They're just being told, it's top down what they're telling us from the executives of the company. But what you're hearing here tonight, what you're seeing, please don't let, and what you heard at your hearing the other day, don't let them gaslight you into thinking that, the people here aren't suffering, that somehow we're using vastly higher amounts of electricity. That's why our bills are going up. 3 therms does not equal $300. Not in my mind, and not in anybody's book should that equal that. So I really appreciate and thank you all for coming up here tonight. This is the first time a group has ever done that. I'm excited to see with 3 new members, a more productive advancement for you guys as looking at things. And please, utilize as much discretion as you can to realize just how badly people around the state, especially right here in LaPorte County, are hurting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner.
Hello, my name is Lauren Tull. I live in Gary, Indiana, which is not part of LaPorte, it's part of Lake County. I understand that to you, NIPSCO, my local government, state government, and federal government, I am simply a number amongst a sea of other numbers. I'm not remarkable, but I have a voice. So does everyone here who decided to drive through the torrential downpour to come here. It is up to you to allow our voices to be heard amongst the case against NIPSCO. I will simply go over what me and my boyfriend have had to do to accommodate the higher than regular bills. First off, we stopped using our gas pretty much entirely, just for cooking. We have had to spend $300 to purchase a kerosene heater that sits in our living room, on our kitchen table, and we spend $50 a week buying kerosene to get us through the cold mornings and chilly evenings. Tomorrow is going to be a high of 37 degrees, so we'll probably go through an entire 2 gallons of kerosene alone. However, due to that measure, our bill is a little lower, but it's still not enough. For our electricity, we have to have every single appliance, minus the key ones, the refrigerator, the sump pump, obviously the stove, and a few other things running. All electronics, everything unplugged. On top of that, we have been taking in our neighborhood cats because our neighbors can barely afford to keep their lights on, and they have resorted to letting their cats, who have known nothing but a cushy light, outside of their homes, and we have had to take them in. We've had to take them to the Humane Society to get them spayed and neutered, vet care, and all of that without a dime of help from anyone. So not only am I having to keep ourselves warm, we are trying to care for the cats as well. On top of that, I've also noticed my local city having trouble with the NIPSCO. Our mayor has been trying to do a relighting project and went from hanging stoplights to solar-powered stop signs that have been enacted on several corners around Glen Park and is slowly moving towards other parts of Gary. That is pretty much all I really have to say. I do hope that you take this into consideration when you speak to NIPSCO again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing, and I want to assure you that you're a lot more in the number to us, which is why we are here, and we'll also be in Gary in a week or so, I believe. I don't know the exact date.
All right. I'd like to thank the commissioners for being up here to this listening session. I'm Vernon Beck. I am a NIPSCO worker for the last 47 years, and I'm a union worker for NIPSCO. USW Local 12775, the United Steelworkers, is the union that represents the NIPSCO workers. I've been the vice president or president for the last 17 years. We represent 1,400 union members that work at NIPSCO across the state. What I'm asking the commission to do is to do a deep dive into the use of NIPSCO's use of contractors to do the work. Currently, there are no more lineman contractors doing NIPSCO work than there are NIPSCO workers doing NIPSCO work. There's more gas street linemen doing gas street work than NIPSCO gas street people. The best we can do, because NIPSCO refuses to give us the cost of contractors, I filed labor work charges, ethic charges, trying to get that information. They will not give it to us. But by putting pieces together, by talking to different contractors and stuff, we see that their wages are the same or higher. They have a much better pension program. Their insurance is free, where we have to pay a big chunk of our medical insurance. They get a per diem per day to show up. We've heard anywhere from $100 to $125 per day per contractor. The contractor, then you have the contractor company itself, their overhead that they put into that hourly wage, they do the bidding. And then when they put in a pole, when we get a pole, we take it out, we put it in. When they get a pole to go out and put it in, they're also paid $1,000 to $1,700 on top of their wage to put that pole in, what we're being told. So when we question them, they say, well, we need these contractors because of TDIS. Originally, TDIS came in, it's supposed to be a one-time term of 7 years, and then they renewed it. When they first started, yes, the contractors, the majority of them were for TDIS. Now in our contracting out meetings, we have on record the data that they created that shows in many cases they're doing 3 times as much of our normal non-TDIS work than we are. 3 times. That's ridiculous. And they're paying them a higher wage than what we can do it by doing the NIPSCO work. Now, we're in the middle, that's why we have so many NIPSCO people here. We're in the middle of getting ready to, we've been negotiating for 8 weeks. One of the things that they've done is in their proposal is to strike through almost all of our contracting out language and left just their management rights. So we know that they're trying to make this a model that they can even make it further. And we're asking you to do a deep dive into what their advantage is of using these contractors. We know they cost more than having NIPSCO workers do that work. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Appreciate all you folks being here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ma'am, for Gary, I can find the date on that. It is on April the 13th at the Gary Public Library in the community room. In the evening, the same time as us, 5:30. I think we're starting a little earlier. I think it's at 5:30 Central.
I guess this is on. My name is
Good to go. Thank you. I just said you're good to go. Thank you very much.
The election.
You hold the mic up a little bit.
We elect everyone. We depend on those people, be it Democrat or Republican, to care for our needs, to do what is right and to do what is wrong. The governor picks the commission. That's wrong. That leads to what? One political side. I have a sister-in-law living in a state where they have eliminated all the taxes right now with gas and everything so high. Our governor will not do that. Commissions will not do that. Legislators will not vote for that because they want the surplus. Is the surplus more important than the people? And why? Why is NIPSCO allowed to be a monopoly? Do we have monopolies in grocery stores? In banks? I worked in a bank. Every year I could count on the federal and the state coming to audit every year. And I better be able to prove everything I said was there was there. Gas stations are not a monopoly. Hospitals are not a monopoly, but we allow our utility company to be a monopoly. Last month, my gas, and then this crazy thing they put underneath, it says gas and transportation. Then it comes down and it says charge. That charge was double the gas, and the entire gas was more than my bill ever was in 2024. I have paid, I have paid 700, 800, 900 since the summer. Now, we're on Social Security. We get a 2.5% raise, and they put on there, oh, this is really going to help our elderly people. Then they raised the Medicare. You're lucky to clear $10. How much did our legislators get? Did our senators get? Did our congressmen get? What was their raise? How many vacations do they get a year? Who and when can that all stop? And the people who elect them be considered. It's never going to happen. We can come to all these meetings we want, and I've heard all the promises there is. Nothing has been done. I still got an outrageous NIPSCO bill. So our 2.5 for the Social Security people, what about our disability people? What about our single parents? What about those people who make not even the average salary? Are they ever considered when you give NIPSCO a raise? I do not remember them ever being turned down. And I can tell you, all utilities are not the same. My neighbor has I&M. For over a year, she has never been out of power. I was out of power 5 times in 6 weeks. So then you expect to be able to call and see what's going on. No. You get a robot that tells you, we're aware of your outage. They do not give you service. NIPSCO doesn't even give you service. They came to my house one day and said, we need to install a new meter. I said, why? There's no smell, working fine. Well, we were told to install a new meter. I stupidly let them do it. So I get this letter this week, which I'm assuming 99% of the people are going to get the same letter that says, oh, we have reviewed your meter and it is working. There will be no catch up with your meter. Now, who do we go to? Isn't it you? Isn't it our legislators? Isn't it our governor? Who do we go to get that taken care of? Why are they allowed to be a monopoly? They can do whatever they want. And talk about infrastructure. They haven't updated one of their transformers, and I couldn't tell you when. They're always going out. So where does the money go? Does any of you go back and see where the money went? Or, look, these people are being, my son lives in Fishers. For 13 months, he's had a bill no higher than 290. He heats a very large 2-story house. My other son lives in Illinois, Arlington Heights. I asked him what his was. 200 and less. He heats 4 floors. His home is 4 floors. There is no logical explanation. And they're going to come up and they're going to ask for another raise. Are they going to get it? My guess is yes. Because we can talk and talk and talk. Nothing is ever done. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for sharing. I will make some clarifying comments just so you understand. We are an appointed board by the governor. We are a bipartisan board, which we have to declare at selection. And we are an impartial body once we are elected. We review all these like cases. And we are not allowed to play. I came, well, hold on. I don't want to debate it. I'm just explaining. This is the way Indiana makes up this commission. In other states, these are elected positions. Some states elect their commissions. In Indiana, this is the way we do it. And we're.
If the governor has the right to appoint, he's going to make it bipartisan always.
He has to by statute.
So then.
By law.
Okay, so if they're saying, if we have this, how did we get to where we're at? And when people started complaining last summer, why hasn't something been done? What is the holdup? What's the committee for? That is.
Ma'am, I respect your comments wholeheartedly. Last summer, I was a senator. I've been in this position 9 weeks, and here we are. And I'm not taking any credit, but I want to hear from the folks. That's why we are in the report tonight, and that's why we're doing 9 more of these, and that's why we called them in. We are working towards some action steps. But I just wanted to explain the makeup of the body. We are appointed by the governor, and we are bipartisan in the appointment and impartial as we serve.
You go to the governor as the committee and say, these people are really hurting. I've had 700, 800, 910, and $1,000 bills. Gone from, my bill was hardly ever $300 in 2024. Who answers? And who let that happen? Who let that happen? Can you as a committee find out what happened? How did they let this happen?
That
I
is,
don't care who the members are now.
well,
They should be finding out how.
that's exactly why we are here. This is one piece of a process that we have created. It's never been done before to look into affordability and hold them accountable. And then those are action steps we're working towards. But we're going to 10 different communities to hear from Hoosiers all over the state. And so.
Is that ever put out anywhere?
Yes, we look at all the financials of all the utilities as the cases come before us. Thank you very much for sharing. Ma'am, I don't want to, I just wanted to clarify where we came from, how we were appointed and selected for these positions. That is law and statute and how that is done. And it is different in every state. Anyone else? We're winding down. This is nobody in the front seat.
Because people were complaining. Well, this is how it is in every state. All states are having trouble.
Well, it depends what the question is. I'm just telling you that how the commission is selected in every state can be different. Some do it our way and some do it other ways. I was just trying to explain how our commission is chosen and how we serve.
Hi, I'm back again.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to tell you, I attended the expo here in LaPorte. And I talked to Rick Kalinsky, and I asked him about the delivery charges, what does this, what does that? And they gave me their whole spiel and everything. Well, then he sent me over to another lady by the name of Erin, and she showed me the little chart of how our gas is delivered and blah, 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 and I was listening to her. And then she showed me this chart and trying to say that 56% of households in our area are less than $200. Then she started showing me these other lower things. Well, this amount, they're between 600 to 700. I think she said it was like 13%. When I mentioned about the bills I see on my website and the bills that, my husband and I ourselves are experiencing, a lady.
You shared some of those tonight, right?
Yes, I did.
Let's think.
But a lady by the name of Erin, I don't know, she said she works with you when it comes to NIPSCO's regulations. She is a lady that told me that most of the bills are probably AI generated. I did want to let you know that that is what one of their representatives told me. They accused us all of AI generating our bills.
The representative of NIPSCO said that?
Yes, her name is Erin. And she said she works with you guys when it comes to increases and things like that.
She probably works with our Consumer Affairs Division.
Right.
Because we work as a liaison with the utilities where they contact the utilities to try and reach settlements, which they've been quite successful at.
Right.
But, no, that's well noted, and that's not the first time we've heard that tonight, so thank you. for sharing
Okay,
that.
I just wanted to make sure you are aware that that's part of the lies that they're telling us. So I'm telling you, so I just want to make you aware of that.
And that's
Thank you.
exactly why we're here. Thank you very much.
Hi. Okay, so I have a question because it's something that is actually impacting a group, and I forgot to mention it earlier. There are other organizations that are impacting these bills. And I don't know if you guys, I mean, you probably are aware of it, but it's confused a lot of people within our community. I actually had my information stolen. I didn't realize until I was in this process that, okay, so I don't know if you've heard of Just Energy. Have any of you guys heard of this company?
I have not.
Oh, good. So we're all gonna learn today. Just Energy. Okay, so this is a company that it can actually be, you're gonna probably hear about this, or this will be something that you see on the bill. Okay? If you're going into Sam's Club and you're like, we're gonna stock up on, I don't know, birds, I don't know, whatever, you go in there and there's somebody that meets you at the door. And you're like, are your energy rates sucking? Yeah, we've got a deal for you. You know that used car salesman pitch? Okay.
I'm a used car salesman.
You know what? You know the guy.
Our family's done it for 75 years.
You know some guys. So,
We made a career.
okay, so, not the good ones. Then you know the slimy ones. And we're talking about the slimy ones.
I hold the professional.
I'm not gonna
higher
make you
regard.
sign-
I hold the professional higher regard. than you.
Commissioner, I'm not gonna make you sign an NDA about it. I'm just saying if you know it.
I'm gonna give you an NDA. I do.
Okay, like I worked in the medical building. I know the doctors to avoid. All right? All right. So, if you walk in and you'll meet these guys, and they're gonna be like, if your NIPSCO bill is awful, we've got to, we're gonna lower your rates. We're gonna lower them, okay? Got this contract for you. Can you show me your NIPSCO bill? And you show them your NIPSCO bill. They've got your account number, your address, and all the information that you need. They're gonna ask for your information. They're gonna bring out their little tablet, okay? Now, I know when I had an interaction with this person, I was having a good day, but I was in a hurry. I wanted to be nice to this gentleman. He looked like a deer in headlights. And he got my information. I ended up saying no. Because at first I thought he was gonna send me information. And then he went off on a spiel. I won't get into the whole thing. But I said, no, thank you. I appreciate the offer, but no, thank you. And I went off, shocked, really exhausted, went home, finished my day, and moved on. Some months later, my NIPSCO bill increased exponentially. Okay, not only did we have the rates that we were approved through NIPSCO, but mine, and I gave them to you, okay? But mine were astronomical. Not only did I have the rates that you approved, but my delivery fees were not even just NIPSCO's delivery fees, something else was wrong. And I didn't realize what was going on.
And then I hadn't been really paying attention. I'd had some surgeries and we've discussed it. But then I saw like Just Energy on my gas. For some reason, I didn't remember this little thing that I talked to in Walmart, something like that. I didn't sign up for it, so I didn't register until it had to register. Okay? Because at first I thought it was just something NIPSCO did. But as I processed with this group, I went back, I called Just Energy, and I said, hey, you guys aren't affiliated with NIPSCO, are you? Like, no. You signed up with us. Like, no. I had a very, very detailed conversation with the young man. Like, we went over, I mean, I showed him my NIPSCO bills, kind of what my rates were looking like. He was telling me what they could do, but I was like, this doesn't sound right. I don't feel comfortable, but no, thank you. Come to find out, he took my information and he stole my information and he signed me up for Just Energy. And when I requested all of my information with this company, I said, I want everything that you say I signed in detail mailed to me immediately. By law and says that I'm now an account holder, whatever. And they said, well, we'll send it to you, but however, we don't have physical signatures with our company. I said, please explain this to me. They're like, oh, we just use a tablet. You point and click. I said, isn't that interesting? You've set this place up for fraud. Now the real only reason I'm bringing this up for you is that I don't know how, if this is something within the spectrum of what you would regulate, because it is impacting rates within the rates.
Did you
within-
contact NIPSCO on that?
Yeah, NIPSCO knows.
What was their response?
They're like, well, we're not really responsible for your gas right now, as everything is going through Just Energy. I canceled it. As soon as I canceled it, Just Energy collected 100% whatever was in the budget, which is why my bill was $1,400 in February. Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure how that would work. That
Well-
might go through and what I'm saying is that might be a fraud thing through the Attorney General's office.
Yes.
Consumer complaint there. It wouldn't necessarily fall within the domain of what we do as regulators of the bill.
Well, what I'm
of utility rates.
right. Well, yeah, and the reason I'm letting you know is that these companies are popping up to alter, because basically the NIPSCO rates are so bad. The people, I mean, I didn't do this, I didn't sign up for it, but I know people that are on Just Energy right now because the rates are so bad that they thought this was a better option. What I noticed as soon as I pulled off of Just Energy, because I didn't even know that they signed me up for it, as soon as I pulled off, my very first bill afterwards decreased by almost 75% in delivery fees, right? My delivery fees decreased 75%. Okay, but the people that are so desperate for help are signing up for these companies that are going to end up being fraudulent. What I'm trying to explain to you is people out here are so desperate, they're going to end up getting scammed if you don't help. And again, I thought I was just talking to a young man that was a little loose in the corner. And I had no idea it was ever going to impact my NIPSCO bill. But there are people that legitimately signed up out of sheer desperation. They thought it would put more food on their tables. I figured I needed to share this with you so you would at least be mindful of the circumstances. Sharing it publicly, I don't know. I haven't really shared the whole thing publicly. You know, I have contacted law enforcement. I've done that, but this stuff this is what is happening. You asked us to come and tell you. This is what is actually happening.
Thank you very much. That's exactly why we're here. To hear it firsthand. Thank you. Do you have a copy of that?
I do. I have copies of all of that, and I also have copies of they said that
Did you leave it with Emily in the back?
I may have to email it to Emily because I didn't bring it physically, but I have the copies at home.
Okay, please do. Thank you very much.
This is going to be short.
I'm pretty sure when I listened, to Vince Parisi on Tuesday, I thought that the number that he gave for the average, NIPSCO bill was $200 and something, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was in that range, which was, I was surprised after seeing so many bills posted on the Facebook, site. But anyway, I just thought I would bring this up because, yesterday I was, on my account and I saw that there was different things that you could look up that I didn't even know existed in there. And so I was able to pull a historical report all the way back to when I first moved here down to 2017, and it shows my reading, the average temperature of that month, the number of days in the month, units used, and my bill amount and cost per day. And I was interested in it because, well, of course, historically see the difference in my bill is what first caught my eye, and how much it changed over the last 9 years. But also, when I was looking at the bill amounts, this nowhere reflects the amount that my actual bill is. So I'm also just wondering if NIPSCO, when they're quoting bills to various, lawmakers or to the IURC, if they're actually just using the bill amount, because that's how it's termed here, the bill amount is just the amount for the actual product. This does not include a delivery fee at all.
So it doesn't include delivery.
No, I'm sure, and that's
been
the
the big problem.
major part of the bill is the delivery fee and the other little customer fee and whatever that's on there. So I just thought, that you might be getting a lower amount of what actually our average bills are, because they're giving you the, just the amount of the actual gas or electric and not the delivery charge as well.
That's a great clarification. Thank you
Yes.
for bringing that to our attention.
Good evening, Mayor Angie Nelson, Diane, Michigan City. Thank you
Hi
for
there.
being
Thanks for
here.
coming.
And just to echo what Councilman Don Privilinski shared with you already, and I'll leave this with you. This is a summary of Michigan City's utility costs and the changes that have happened over the last couple of years. But I really have two requests. EAP, their Energy Assistance Program, ends April 20th, typically each year. And what happens after that is everybody's going out to get assistance before the disconnect notice comes. I'm asking that you do a moratorium on disconnect notices after this winter season. We know what has happened. We know that people are sharing their bills, but we also know there is a high rate of disconnects that happen in the month of May and June. So at the end of April, they're gonna shore up the bill and say, now that you've been on this program, now you owe $3,000 or more. And there should be an extended period of time or a loosened opportunity for people to pay, or at least loosen the regulations on, how people set up those payment arrangements and what that looks like. Because until this is figured out, I don't think people should be shut off for their utility bills at this time. And we know that's what's gonna happen, because right at this time, people are gonna start showing up for, assistance, and that money's gonna run out faster than it's ever run out before. And we know this is gonna happen. So April 20th is that date. And you're not gonna have all your information before then to do anything. But one thing that you could do is maybe implement some type of moratorium, so that as those disconnect notices come, that our residents won't be shut off. So that is my request. And again, I'm gonna leave this with you, so that you have it. But again, last year, just sit there. Right now, we've already spent 36% of our utility bill money that we have budgeted for this year. We went up by $131,000 increase from 24 to 25. And like Councilman Privilinski said, it's probably gonna look more like 200,000 this year. So, and that's, peanuts in the scheme of things, but when you are trying to provide services, it's another. So we just want to make sure, though, for our residents, that you put a moratorium on the disconnect notices. until further notice. Thank you.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you very much. We'll add it to our. We have about 15 more minutes, so if you'd like to speak, please come up front.
All right, I'll be quick. Thank you guys for coming here. I know it's not typical for you guys to do this. I didn't prepare anything. I just really want to talk numbers. They say Stephen Kornacki. I'm out of Michigan City. Just talk numbers, you know, back in July, August, September, and October. I used apparently just one therm, and this is just all off of NIPSCO, show my usage, the Excel document. I have 2 days that say, number of days is 30, 1 day, but I'm charged a penny difference, so $17.50, not using, I probably use next to nothing because it's only my laundry, my dryer. But then the other one was $17.51, but this is where it's a little odd. In September, 32 days, I was charged $17.49. I know it's only a couple pennies difference, but still, I would think out of 32 days in the billing cycle, I would have had 51 instead of 49. They also say that they do not charge us anything extra for gas. We pay what they pay. So in April of last year, 2025, I was charged $1.87 per therm. April 2025, their gas history on NIPSCO, they list every month of what they pay, and it was 31 cents. So I don't really understand that. You know, even when it comes to kilowatts, I'm not even talking delivery fee. Even that fluctuates big time, where most of the time I'm charged 24 cents. And I know the more you use, then typically where kilowatts will go down, you're buying more quantity, but I would use less kilowatts and still, or use more kilowatts and still pay more in some months. So like this month, I used 327 kilowatts. I was charged 26 cents back in October, per kilowatt, October of 2025. But then I used more in January at 700 kilowatts, but I was charged 24 cents. So their kilowatt hours, per units used, same thing with gas per use, doesn't really correlate much. The delivery fee, I came here back when they want to talk to the public, kind of kudos to them. Learn more about the program, learn more what they do. One thing that they do where I kind of find it a little silly is they have appliance programs. So you want a new washer, a new dryer, any fridge, you could buy one from them. But I looked at the prices. The prices are, I could go to Menards, Home Depot, all that, and get a way better deal. So I don't know, this is her opinion, it's pretty good, is that are they buying all these, nobody's buying them off, and after so many years, write it off, bring down my tax? I don't know. Very interesting talking to them about the delivery charges. Having another company for Gento for high capacity users. You said that in your past you were a used car salesman. Did you ever open up another LLC because you had somebody buying 50 cars a day from you versus the other one? But that's where it was a little, I still don't really understand that, because I do know if I come in and I'm a new production facility, I tell NIPSCO, just like a tax abatement, if it brings positivity for the community, they will also give you an abatement on your charges for an X amount of years. And so I just bought a house. I'm a new resident. Doesn't that mean I'm a consumer? Or, you know, where's my 5-year abatement for trying to get settled in, so to say? But I guess that's all I had to bring up. That's what kind of stuck out there.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. What? You need to come to the mic, please.
I just want to say one other thing. They do promote the budget plan,
They do.
and I have always had the budget plan. But my budget, so when May comes around, you have to make up if there's a difference.
Right.
And my budget always paid 90% or all of my May bill.
Right.
And then I start over. My budget is $568, and I'm going to be left with over $1,000 in May.
With 568 your budget now, what was it last year?
It's $497, and that covered my May. Before that, it was $238.
Thank you.
So, and before, the year before that, 197. So that shows you how much it's gone up. But the real problem is for the people who's going to get that large May bill.
Right. True.
And since I got it, I might as well say thank you. Really appreciate you guys coming to LaPorte. It's a great community, awesome community. Chairman Zay, I think you had no idea what you were getting into when you took this job back in January, but God bless you for doing it. Chairman Day, did I get that right? Guy. Thank you. Commissioner Valletta, thank you. I was there Tuesday and listened to INM, to Centerpoint, all of them. And I know since you're quasi judicial, you really can't speak freely. I walked out of that room and I was extremely disappointed in the responses that you got. And I could see it in your eyes. Maybe you couldn't say anything about it, but I could see it in all of your eyes. You were feeling the same thing as me. Is we're talking in circles here. We're not getting to the crux of the problem. The thing that really irritated me the most, probably the most important question I think that was asked of every one of the IOUs was, what's your recommendation to lower rates? I don't know about you. I heard AES came up with $3. That was what I heard AES testify to. I didn't hear NIPSCO say a word. It was extremely disappointing to sit through that whole start of the inquiry, but I understand the process that we're about to go through. I understand this is the first time we've ever done any kind of an investigative inquiry, I think is what we're calling it right now, going through this process. I don't think that was on your radar when you took your position in January, and I appreciate you accepting the letter that I sent you on January 21st, along with 14 other legislators that are all NIPSCO legislators. And I think what you heard tonight was the impetus for that letter. Frustration, non-sustainability. This just isn't right. You've got tools. We gave you another great tool with levers in 1002 this year. I think when you get through the listening sessions, and especially when you hear from the NIPSCO customers, which I understand is your #1 complaint throughout the state. And not by a little bit, it was by a lot. There's something going on here. I'm asking you to take this investigation just one step farther, or the investigative inquiry is what we're calling it now, is to go one step farther, and let's take a deep dive into one particular utility and get a better understanding of why have those costs gone up so much in the last year and a half? Why is the delivery charge where it's at? NIPSCO themselves can't explain what's in that delivery charge. I find that hard to believe. When you ask the president of NIPSCO, tell me about your delivery charge, you want to talk about unprepared? That was such an unprepared statement. They had no idea what was going on. And somebody else said it here tonight. I'm going to reiterate it. 30-year-old accounting systems, 30-year-old billing practices, absolutely not acceptable. And I think this commission is in the right place at the right time. The governor's behind you, the legislature's behind you, and we're asking. These folks are asking, 100% all in. We want to know why And we want to know what we can do to fix it. Thank you.
Well, Laporte was first, so we have 10 more of these. This was our first listening session after the inquiry on Tuesday. I appreciate everybody for coming out. I appreciate everybody who shared and commented tonight. I appreciate everybody that shared bills or any information with Emily in the back. If you have anything to leave with her on the way out, please do that. Please, stay posted. If you didn't speak and would like to leave something, I think we still have the email address up there. Please forward that to us. This will all become a part of a collection of us working towards action steps coming out of this listening session and the inquiry we had. And some of that could drift to exactly what Representative Pressel said. But I appreciate all the comments and the suggestions tonight, and we will take those to heart, which is why we're here, and move forward. So thank you very much. Have a safe trip home this evening. Try and stay dry.
This has been Chaos Media. We just got done with the IURC. Their email is iurcsessions@urc.in.gov. If you or anyone wants to go ahead and send them an email, let them know whatever trouble that you've had in that. We're gonna do what we can to get to the rest of these meetings that they have, but probably didn't make it to the first one given the insane storm that was out there. We'll do what we can to keep everyone informed. Everyone remember, don't get arrested. Don't do anything to get yourself arrested. Be responsible.